Okay. Is everybody ready?
Let's do it.
Ready?
Did I not sound like Tone Loc just then?
Tone Loc. I like
Just,
it.
I mean,
Sounds like
All right, we're gonna get started, guys. Are we ready?
we're ready.
Welcome back. Episode 100 of The Grouch and the Brainstorm.
Who'd have
Yeah.
thought? Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought
Right?
100 episodes? And for today, just today only, maybe more, we'll see. But we have our friend Chris is videotaping us, and Matt is going to get a live feed going.
We hope. Yes. Yes.
He's working on it.
I'm working on it.
He's working on it. So while you work on that, Matt, do we have any announcements?
Marie, who had a birthday?
Maurice
We had some
did.
birthdays. Maurice
And Lupe.
and Lupe. Yeah.
Lupe was yesterday.
Lupe.
Saw him at the noon meeting. Up. We gotta do it. So now, Maurice had a birthday,
yes.
and Lupe had a birthday, and who else? Is that it? Is that all?
Somebody's escaping me at the moment, but I will think of it shortly.
So no big parties or anything.
I don't think
Not
so.
yet.
I don't. Oh, Jane R has one coming up real soon.
Jane R has one, I believe, on February the.
Yes.
I'm not going to guess that on live, on air. I'm not going to guess.
It's toward the end of the month, the last few days of the month.
And your girl
Couple
right
weeks.
here.
Oh
What?
yeah.
Yes, I have
Jill.
a big. Hey, it's my golden birthday.
I don't want
What does a golden birthday mean?
It's
to. Oh, I don't want to.
February 15th. I'll have 15 years.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh?
February the 15th, you'll have 15 years. And they call that a golden birthday.
Yeah, because it's the same,
No, okay.
the dates.
Man, I gotta wait till 21st of whatever, 21 years before I get a golden birthday. That's,
I think I have to wait till like 3006 to
No.
have one or something.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Golden birthday. So, Matt, what have you been up to?
Man, just excited about this deal right here. It's been pretty cool. Been spent the last few weeks and talking with you guys and just kind of thinking back through the start of this this deal and you know just enjoying this, man. It's been a long not long, but it's been a journey, you know,
has.
to get to this point. So
It has been a long road.
How long has it been? When was our first episode?
It was in May of 2023, I believe.
Okay,
And May
okay.
of 2025 will make 2 years. Now, if you think about the math on this, we have today's 100 episodes. So technically, that'd be 100 weeks. There's 54 weeks, 52 weeks in a year. So 104 episodes would actually be 2 solid years. So we are ahead of ourselves on weeks.
Okay.
And what it was when we first started out, we actually had where we would go in and do a bonus episode between an episode. So, and that was also when I was still living in town. So we would record an episode like we're doing today, but then we would have a bonus episode that, you know. So I think Jill has a sneeze attack about that.
It was coming, but it went away.
I never thought about that. What happens if you want to sneeze whenever you're recording all these things? You just let it blow.
just go, man.
Hopefully-
Just go with it.
Hopefully it can be cut out.
I think everybody was always worried with a podcast. It was like they thought it was like TV
Wow.
or something. Yeah, and it's like, man, just do whatever you got to do.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Just on with the show, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, anything can be edited out. You can, you know, a lot of times whenever we edit these things, I take out the buts, the ums. I have to take out a lot of double words, like when I, you know, go and, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Some of that's taken out. And a lot of it is to where you try to get straight to the point, but we're thinking and our thought process doesn't work as fast, or our mouths don't work as fast as our thought process. So
Yeah.
you take some of that out and it's more streamlined, you know. And of course, originally I was dead set against editing. I wanted it to be all all as is, how we see it, and, you know, no editing. But you also don't want to lose people in some of the rhetorical stuff.
Absolutely.
So Jill, how I know Jill. So Jill, Matt has said the past 3 times we recorded on Friday, you got your check and bailed on us.
Yeah, yeah.
And you wasn't there for those recordings. So.
It's not the case.
She's here to refute that
She
evidence.
actually gets paid on Thursday.
Yeah.
No, I do get paid on Fridays, but I have been sick for the majority of 2025 and trying to get some answers. Y'all gotta excuse my throat. I do sound like, I guess, Matt said Miley Cyrus, but I had an endoscopy and it has really agitated my throat beyond belief.
Yeah.
And so we're doing I'm just getting a bunch of tests run to rule out some other things and see where it takes me.
Well, just for the record, it works really well for Miley, and she's done great with that voice. So
Should I throw out a tune? I'm just kidding. No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
you could sing Jolene. You could sing. Remember that song, Jolene?
Yeah,
I
of
don't
course,
think
of
she
course.
sang that one.
She did sing Jolene. She sang it really good.
Miley Cyrus did?
She did.
I need to look at that then.
Dolly Parton.
Yeah, that's
Covered
her godmother.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I wonder how many godchildren Dolly Parton has. Have you ever thought about that?
Probably a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty cool. I'd probably, never met the lady, but I think I would trust her with that badge of honor.
No one's ever asked me to be a godmother, and that's okay.
However, she's taking applications if anybody wants to.
No, thank you.
Anybody wants to send. What does it consist of? I mean, you just got to show up for the quinceañera or whatever it is, and
Listen, I have a niece and nephew, and that's all I need.
Yeah, I've got
Well,
my hands
and-
full with.
and-
I've got enough titles and hats that I have to wear. I'm good.
Exactly. Yeah, you already have like 5 kids.
Oh man, and just yeah,
I mean, I've got Chunk and Bud and Billy and the girls.
I do have some kids up for adoption. If anybody's listening, there some of them are almost grown.
yeah,
I'll
I think
just
there's
give
an
them
age
away
limit. where
free to
you
good
gotta-
home.
You got to shut it down on an age limit, And I think there's an age limit where you can just drop them off at the fire station as well. I don't think you can just do that up until they're,
Wait, you can drop them off at the fire station?
Well, you can try.
Oh,
You can try and see what happens. The worst case scenario, they become firefighters and right here in Bossier Parish and first responders. And
Sure.
you better hope nothing ever happens in your.
I think they have to fit in the bassinet.
That's right.
Oh, you got to fit in. See, Chris knows you got to fit in the basket. So,
Oh.
do they have a standard basket that just sits right out front? We don't know. So, anyway,
How are you, Mike?
I
Whatever your name is.
It's crazy. A lot of people do get us mixed up. They get me and Matt mixed up, and so I'll deal with that. I'm okay. We have 2 more followers.
I'm glad you're okay with that. I wouldn't be if I was you.
Well, I wear it like a badge of something.
Something.
Not all Boy Scout badges are good.
The badge of something.
We're up to 167 Spotify followers, and that is pretty cool. I have had the extreme. If anybody has me on their Instagram, I posted pictures of my grandson, and he's never been on any social media, and I never did out of respect for the privacy of my daughter, and of course him. I didn't know, and I asked her one day. I was up at the hospital. And I said, hey, can I post pictures of Everest? And so I did, and the response has just been amazing. But what's really been amazing is he has been in Dallas now for going on a month. We didn't know it was going to be this long, but today I believe is a month. And he's getting a little closer to getting where he can come back home.
Hey.
But we don't know when he's going to be able to come back home. But he's going to be on a home ventilator. And it's going to be hooked up right there in their house, and he'll be there for a little while until he goes to Philadelphia and gets a little bit of his ribs issue fixed, and maybe even his spine. But I have gotten to every day go up to the hospital from around 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and just visit with Everest and his mother and whoever the doctors, and we just stand around, and he laughs but don't make sound. He cuckles, like babies do.
Yeah.
No sounds, but he's still just and he doesn't know he's got anything wrong with him.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were talking about it. Me and my daughter was, and some of these things that he has going on with him are what makes him him.
Right.
Without all those things, he would not be who he is. So
Exactly.
and I tell you, it's I have a whole podcast on alcoholism and the problems that go along with alcoholism and things we see and the struggles we have, and then there's someone like him, you go, I don't really have any problems going on.
Yep.
What I got going on is selfish, self-seekingness, self-centeredness that has just went all through my life, and I'm lucky. I was several years sober. I think I was 13 years sober when he was born.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I had a little recovery under my belt, but it's been amazing. It really has been amazing. And his mother's courage and his mother's dedication to that child, driving back and forth over here from Dallas because she has another child here and her husband is here, and showing up at the hospital and going to the Ronald McDonald House and all of those things, just tremendous courage that, I thank God I never had to go through it with either one of them, but I wish she didn't have to either, but this is what we have.
Yeah.
So we deal with it, and that's been most of my life. What's been going on lately? Nothing big in the sticks over there. Dallas has its set of things to do, and there's always something to do over in the area. So
Absolutely.
But today we're going to talk about our first. How about this? We're going to talk about that first 100.
Okay.
And that first 100 is going to consist of our first 100 days of recovery, the first 100 people in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the first 100 episodes. And man, we can think back over some pretty cool stuff we've done. Number one, this whole thing was an idea I had a long time before we actually started it, and I kind of just hem-hawed around, right? I just didn't do anything special. And I got all the equipment, and I'd play with it in 2 or 3 hours a week and wouldn't do anything. And then I saw a lady come in the store, in the club one day, and she was just baffled and confused. And I said, it's time to get up off your ass and do something. Put the podcast out there. Not necessarily for her. Her name was Kim, and she's been on the show. She was actually in
Very early on.
Yeah,
in the show.
it was way
Her and Miss Rhonda, yeah.
way on down the line, and so. But that's the reason that I actually went ahead and said, hey, let's just do this. And then somehow the chemistry kind of built over time, and people started listening to our show. And I think I titled it The Best Show Yet, because it was at the time the best show yet. Now it's kind of hard to, place which show, better than the next show. But we actually, me and Matt talk about it sometimes. And in that first 100, we interviewed Phil F., and his story was recorded on an iPad in the front room of the Koala Club.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
Matt was
And it sounds like it.
and it does. It's very crude audio, and that's before we had these mics and mic arms and this
All the stuff.
contraption over here that does all the recording. And I put it all on the internet, no matter how we look at it. But it was definitely. I think it was episode 3 that we did that, Matt. Mm-hmm. And our most listens to episode is episode 1. The very first episode we did, it by far is our most listened to episode. It has probably 250 listens, somewhere in there. I mean, I'm not 100% on that, but it has about 250 listens. So, but Matt, what do you remember about the first 100 days of your recovery?
I was 97 of them. I was in a treatment center, so mine was not hard to. Pretty much between the detox period and a treatment center, that's pretty much what I did, and I'm real grateful for that with the It started a new pattern for me, and I know people talk about the 90 and 90 and they talk about those kind of things. For me, there was a couple of 90 and 90s because I did a 90 and 90 in treatment, and then I began a new one when I got out of treatment. And I'm very grateful the place that I went, this wasn't one of those fancy treatment centers. They didn't have any of that stuff. It was recovery from 5 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and you shut the lights down. The only literature in that facility was an NA book and an AA book. That's all you got.
Yeah.
And if you read it, they'd say, well, just start back over. You know, that was it. There was nothing else to distract us from that. And it was a great shock to my system to just go, okay, so I need to focus on this. And I really didn't have a choice but to focus on it, because that was all that was there to do. And that really kind of catapulted my recovery, and just realizing that, hey, this is as much of a job as drinking and using was, and you're going to have to approach it that way, just going to work. I mean, hey, work on my stuff every day. So but most of mine was in a treatment center. I had 97 days when I walked in the Koala Club, so and it had all been in a treatment center pretty much. So
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and now I've heard people come in from jail, you know.
sure.
Their first 100 days. How about Jill? Your first 100 days was in a treatment center as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Wow, that was it was pretty rough, man. And you're right. And you're right. I mean, it's all about habits and changing all your habits and doing that in a controlled environment. You know, where you don't have the distractions of what drugs, alcohol, old friends, etc. And it was. I mean, it was little. It was the little things like making your bed every day. Guess what? I was not a routine bed maker.
Yeah.
I still make my bed every morning. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I have a very ritualistic and just a ritualistic lifestyle. And I needed that because I had zero structure in my life. You know, I need to get up to go to work. I need to do the things at the same time in the same way
Right.
every single day. And, you know, it helped me do that. You know, the 100 days was hard. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of emotional, you know, setbacks and struggles as I go through, you know, the emotional and the work part as far as that's concerned. But not only that, the steps. Because, you know, of course, it's a treatment center. They have a curriculum. We're going through that. But also at the same time, you know, finding a temporary sponsor and going through the steps and being wildly confused with all the things that were introduced to me. Because of course I'm like, sure, you don't know me. You know, I'm doing this like terminal unique bullshit, and I just didn't understand. There's just so many dynamics in a treatment center. You got so many people there. There's so much drama, and I didn't want to have any part of it. I didn't want to be friends with anybody. Leave me alone. Let me do what I need to do. And, you know, I did it. And I did all the meetings. But then when I left, I moved into a halfway house. And I had to do the same thing over again. But I think I had to do 180 meetings in 180 days. So
Wow.
I was in a meeting quite a bit for my first year. But, you know, I'm glad I was in a controlled environment for those first 100 days, because left to my own devices, I would have never gotten sober. I would never gone to a meeting. I would have never done any of it. I had to be somewhere where you pretty much were told what you need to do. And that was good for me. Because left up to my own devices, man, I just screw shit up. Like
Yeah.
royally. And I'm
okay, man.
defiant.
Oh, I second that.
Yeah. Well, my first pass was within my first 100 days. And my first pass, I went home and they're like, okay, go to a meeting. And I pulled up to it and I said, nope. And I drove off. I didn't go in. And, you know, it's a great introductory into this lifestyle, because I don't think anybody just willingly wants to jump into a whole different lifestyle where you have to do everything totally different. And it's all like, to me, it was kind of like mythical and like bullshitty. Like, okay, so you want me to believe in a higher power. You want me to have a spiritual experience. You want me to do all these things I've never heard of and that I actually have quite an issue with. I wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't, that's hard That was really hard to not only do, the work and all that, but also like to surrender and to put my pride aside, even though I didn't know I was doing it. But that whole 100 days is a humbling experience in itself. And that's just what I needed, to be taught a new routine and a new way. And it saved my life. It really did. And I'm still doing the same stuff I did.
I'm on live right now, so
Me
people
too.
are commenting too.
I
Are
am
you?
too, yeah. So did you so at any point in that first 100 days, did you ever feel, and some people don't, some people do, it's different for everybody. Did you ever feel this is where I need to be, this is where I belong? I did. 45 days in, and I was like, this, I gotta have this.
No.
And how at 45 days, somehow the switch flipped, and it was just like, I gotta have this 45 days, right?
It never did. And I remember feeling that way in the halfway house. I really felt like a fish out of water for the first couple of years. I hadn't fully surrendered, and I was, I mentioned that quite a bit, when I talk about my recovery. For the first couple of years, it was pretty, just rocky for me. I wasn't totally convinced that this was going to be the rest of my life. This isn't what I wanted for my life, because I thought I knew something.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. I'm really glad. I mean, like, I'm thrilled that it is the rest of my life.
Amy C sent something on here, and she brought up desperation. That's such a good word, because you and I were kind of the higher power thing. We're kind of similar on that. We
Just
struggled with for different reasons, but it was weird to me to come in and go, wait a minute, you're telling me, but I didn't have a choice. It was either that or death. So in order to, I was so desperate at that point that I knew I wasn't going to survive any other way. And I was just desperate enough and willing enough to go, okay, I'll consider it.
It is. It's quite I don't know what to call it, a double-edged sword or something, because, like, first of all, I don't trust this, I don't know this, I don't like this, but
Right.
I know I've got to do this. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
But I still feel like there's another better answer out there.
Another butter answer?
Better.
Oh, sorry.
Buttered sausage.
Buttered sausage.
It's buttered sausage.
That's a whole other deal.
But you
Some
see what
rabbit.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I think that it basically, what it was skepticism.
Yeah.
And I was incredibly skeptical.
Well, why not be? Why not be skeptical whenever this is the way you've lived your life, and all of a sudden total strangers come up and say, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be skeptical? Because if somebody, even now, like, I'm a 52-year-old man and I am sober, and if somebody pulls up in the driveway and they're like, hey, try this snake oil, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
no thanks.
I'm not diving off in the old serpent oil. No, I'm not doing that. So.
Yeah. Well, I had so much pride, and I just thought I thought I was a lot smarter than.
We
than
have
I
to get out
was.
of our own way.
And that was the thing. I totally needed that in the
Yeah.
biggest way. Because when I look back, it's purely delusional. I didn't know shit.
Yeah, that was me too, and I kept going back to, do I look at the results that I left,
Yeah.
and so it had to be a radical change, and that first 100 days, it was definitely a radical change. So.
It was. It really was. And
And I went through the making the bed thing too. Oh yeah, I was like, what? Make my bed? Now it's like, I panic. I'm like, I don't think I made the bed this morning.
I just can't.
Yeah.
It's important that I make my bed.
Yeah.
You really do that, man? It's a big deal.
I do. Yeah.
Jill, is it important to make your bed?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
part of my routine.
Well, and the guy was our peer support guy at treatment where I was at. He used to not yell at us in a mean way, but he was a loud talking guy anyway. I love the guy, but that's what he would say. He's like, "You can't make your bed. How are you going to turn down dope?" You know, you can't even make your bed. You can't do a
That's a-
5-second.
That's a big jump there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
but-
know if
but-
those two are exactly
Well, but you know,
connected.
what it taught was discipline though. And hey, I gotta get up, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And all those little things add up to big things. So I see where he was coming from, and I'm glad he, you know, said that and did that. But yeah, that first 100 days was quite a shock, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said before, the first 100 days for me might have been a little different than the first 100 days for everybody else, but I had to get a sponsor for sure. And I had to figure out how to do 90 meetings in 90 days for sure, 100%, just no matter what. And I had to get some disciplines down, and scared to death the entire time.
Yeah.
But after 45 days, I can honestly say that after 45 days, I really and truly wanted to be in Alcoholics Anonymous. I no longer felt like that I was apart from, I felt like I was a part of.
Yeah.
And the greater distance coverage would come when I started doing the steps. You know, when I did a step 5, I actually felt like I became a member. It went from being them to us. And the way I mean is like whenever someone comes in and goes, hey, where do I get my slip sign, right? And you're like, oh, right over there. They like you to put them there. I went from, well, you know, we like you to put them right here. You know, it went from
That inclusion.
Yeah, the inclusion, and of the 5th step, the inclusion was really pretty cool. So.
Well, what's interesting in that fact is that I went off to treatment, and so I'm in a whole new town. I'm living there, and I felt like a passerby. To be honest, it was almost like a very weird vacation. So I knew this wouldn't be my home group. I didn't know where I was going to end up. And I did over time, you know, love these people and grow to enjoy AA in this time. Not the 100, days, of course, but later on. But I always just felt in a way like that was just temporary, if that makes any sense. And I think a lot of people may feel like that, like, oh, I'm not going to have to do this the rest of my life. I'm going to figure this out, and then I'll be good to go. It just so happened that, you know, I had the miracle and I had it over and over again. Just reinforces me to, of course, stay in the program and get more of them.
Yeah. So.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, and I have someone right now who is commenting on here. Her name is Rebecca, and she's on day 1 today.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
You know what? It all starts there.
Absolutely.
Day 1. We've all had a day 1. Matter of fact, I don't know about Matt over here because this fellow is a professional, but I've had several day 1s, and it all starts on day 1. And you know, the sooner I surrendered, the quicker that day 1 became a day 2, and it became a day 3, and
It can be down into day, quarter of a day,
Yeah.
third of a day. It doesn't even have to be a day 1, you know, like it was a lot of stops and starts and things like that along the way. And yeah, you just, man, I mean, every hour you can fight for early on is a, you know, it doesn't seem like it probably at the time, but looking back, it's a big deal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a leap of faith. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm here, and I'm going to die if something doesn't change. And all right, giddy up, here we go.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I want to go home.
But it is that desperation
Yeah.
of, I got to do something. So, and when I finally figured out, okay, I got a,
now, can we hear you, Matt?
I don't know.
Yeah,
now
now
you
we can.
can.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. But when I finally figured out that, this little bit of sobriety I was getting was working and concurrent, like day after day after day, I was like, there's something to this.
Right,
you know?
I'm feeling a little better today, and feeling a little better the next day, and so forth.
And yeah, and so I just had to stick with it, and yeah, I mean, I'm tickled with it. I'm so happy today to be sober and to be doing a podcast with you guys and do 100 daggum episodes.
That's really cool. Do you feel like, I feel like at that point in my life, in those first 100 days, I was optionless. Even though there are options, I could have left. and said, screw this, but I didn't have any money. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I didn't have anything. And I
Yeah.
think that the fact that options were off the table made me more willing to do what I needed to do.
Matt, why don't you see if you can do something with those comments that are coming through?
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know how to make that work.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like the lack of options.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I felt like actually I had to run out of options.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Before I was going to do anything substantial, with my life. So I'm trying to figure out here how to get Larry L on here, and I'm not sure how to do that. So I'm gonna keep rolling. Matt, what you got going on over there, bro?
So, yeah, and I don't want to give out anybody's name or anything like that, but the young lady Mike was talking to that's on day one, and bear with me because we're reading this with stuff on, but yeah, she's been trying for years on and off, and I think the biggest thing, is get around other folks like us and stay in that group.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm not a technical guy. Chris is sitting over here. I don't know if y'all have even seen him, but Chris is like by the book, man. It's black and white, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how he rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's in order.
Hang on.
I'm not that guy.
Hang on.
I'm kind of a big picture. Where are we trying to go? And what helped me most with Alcoholics Anonymous, yes, the steps.
Go, keep talking.
The steps helped. Having a sponsor helped, but just being around that group of people that were all pulling for me, that just jumped in and I found my group, and that's where and I have people, family members have come in for birthdays and stuff, and they go, oh, now I see. But they say, now I see why you've been able to stay sober and do. And
It's all about the support. I mean, we need the encouragement. Like they say, stick with the winners. And what's really cool, through all of this is I'm still friends with women that I went to treatment with almost 15 years ago.
So, guys, real quick, I got Larry. Larry, can you hear me? Larry, can you hear me? Anything I'm saying, bud? I am going to figure out how to make Larry talk on this thing. Larry, can you hear me? Larry? Well, Larry, I'm going to call you back in just a second, okay? Give me just a second.
so the young lady on your live is she's debating on rehab. Nothing else has worked.
A lot of times separating from that liquor does work.
It's really important. I know a lot of people do it, otherwise, but
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a detox and a rehab. Even sometimes a few weeks. Some people even just the detox helps. To go 10 days somewhere and dry out but absolutely that stopping and being pulled away from the substance can be a game changer. But just for me, and we have a hot mess going on in here right now because we have
First time we've ever had
we've
this
got all kind of cameras, and I'm looking at Jill. There's Chris over there, by the way, on live.
Let's see-
He's
let's see
our
if this will
bodyguard, by the
actually-
way.
Oh, I think we got a hit. Let's see. Ask him if his refrigerator's still running.
that's so 1980s of you.
Well, he probably got enough of that last call. I forgot we had the Bluetooth device hooked up. He may not recognize his phone either. So we'll give him another couple rings, and if it don't go through, we'll we don't.
He's probably thinking, I wish, stop calling. I'm trying to get a call from Mike.
Matt, you want to see? Can you Bluetooth to that, Matt?
I think so.
Do you have Larry's number?
I do. I think I do.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna disconnect the Bluetooth, and you can go. I'll edit out most of the stuff here that makes it a hot mess, because I'm definitely gonna have to edit this episode.
For sure.
So and also this young lady that's she's saying she can go a month without alcohol, but something triggers her and she goes pretty hard with vodka and stuff.
That's what I say. So that sounds like a lot like my story. And I would go 30 days, I go 2 weeks, I go 3 months. I think 3 months is about as most I could ever get, right? But something would happen. And so what I had to do was I had to separate myself from the alcohol. There's no possible way he can get it. And I didn't have the resources like Waylon Jennings did back in the day just to drive off in the middle of the desert and stay gone. I had to check. And nowadays we also have, we have, obviously they're going to tell you in a facility how long you should stay. But nowadays we also have pay options in different places of employment that cover that kind of thing because it is an illness. It's recognized as an illness, even if it's not by some people. But separating myself from that and getting into some kind of routine. And I've had sponsees where we did 90 and 90, it didn't work. Or we did all the steps real quick. We've done all these different things, bless you. And it didn't work. So, but whenever I tell them you got to go to rehab, you have to separate yourself from that. And then as soon as I got out of rehab, I had to change the people, places, and things. And unfortunately, I had to eliminate some people in my life that meant a lot to me. And nothing against them, it's just that I had to change things. I had to become different. And
and that's emotional work I was talking about, because you get to learn what your triggers are, and really start to work with that kind of stuff and realize, like, what is setting me off? What's going on inside of me that makes me drink or use? And I think that's important to learn, in recovery. So, and the thing is, once you start to work on that, you find more strength, and you're like, oh wow, made it through that bump. And another one happens, and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. And you make it through that, and then you're just like, next thing you know, you have 15 years, and you're like, wow, all that I thought I wouldn't make it through, I did that through, going to a meeting, talking about it, and working through whatever I need to work through, in the steps, get whatever, help that I need to stay with the winners, all that kind of stuff that we talk about for newcomers.
And that's, it's neat that you mention that, because sticking with the winners is one of those things. I honestly thought everybody that came to Alcoholics Anonymous was a dork. I honestly thought.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't think anyone were as cool as me,
Right.
This guy that can, piss himself for no obvious reason in front of everybody, that's pretty cool. But I didn't know that, right? I thought everybody was just a bunch of dorks, had no fun. Why would I want to hang around with them outside? But the truth is, what I was doing was not working.
Yeah.
So if what you're doing isn't working, no matter what it is, I've been working on that truck out, that Range Rover, for a week and a half, just trying to get a couple things to stop happening, right? And I finally came to the realization what I'm doing ain't working. I'm going to have to take it to somebody and get help. And I don't want to compare anybody's life to a vehicle, but at some point we have to realize, hey, what I'm doing is not working.
Absolutely.
And I've tried everything. There's something you hadn't tried, because there's somebody out there that has a lot more recovery that has an idea that's going to help you.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And that means getting a sponsor.
Yeah.
Getting someone and calling them and asking them a million questions.
If 1,000,005, if that's what it takes, but
Sure.
whatever it is, it's going to take a whole lot of changing, and that's for dang sure.
For sure. I remember the majority of my early recoveries calling my sponsor and saying, is this normal? Is this normal? Is this...
Yeah.
Because I just felt like everything was so abnormal and weird that nothing was right.
Jill, me and you had very similar, like, early sobriety stuff. Like, the way we looked at things.
Yeah.
Like, you've always helped me by being able to listen to Jill, because I did, not everything was similar, but a lot of the way we approach sobriety with a kind of this ain't gonna happen,
Right.
That was kind of my attitude.
Yeah, I already called like, yeah, that's bullshit.
Y'all don't know me, so.
Well, this brings me to my second topic, and my I can't talk today, and Jill can't stop hacking, so I guess between the two of us, no, I get it. My second topic is, there were some people who came in and they actually had gotten these ideas that we use now in our recovery, from other places, right? They had gotten them from these groups called the Washingtonians, or the name slips my head, but there was another group of people who tried to get sober, and all of these people had ideas, and Bill Wilson basically just took a combination of their ideas, and then he kind of branched off on his own because of some secular issues that caused him to not agree with the way they did things, which is the way most every single organization has.
Yeah.
But what he did was kind of took the God thing, made it a spirituality thing, and then he had these different people. But you got to think, you had Bill, you had Bob, okay? And then they went and found this dude, right? This dude in the hospital that had done beat up a nurse, I say beat up.
Was it Oxford?
Oxford group is the one I was trying to think of.
Amy C said tighten up. She said it's Oxford.
I'm sure Amy C. Yeah, she knows. She knows. Amy knows. She's a AA historian, and what it is, ever since the goat bite. Whenever you talk about AA, it's like a whole nother person comes. It's something about the goat bite.
What the hell is a goat bite?
That's a long story. You'd have had to listen to our last episode to understand it.
Oh.
Yeah, it means you didn't listen to our last episode.
Listen, I'm over here trying to live.
Oh, and Rebecca was from the UK and had to get off because I couldn't continue to concentrate. Hopefully she'll join yours, Matt. So my battery was going dead. I tried to call Larry, couldn't get a Larry on there. So anyway, you had the first 100 people and no documentation almost on any of them, right? Mm-hmm. And so I studied that, and there is a web page you can go to, but they include in that first 100, like the lady that introduced Bill to Bob, Sebring, I believe, something, or is that a facial cleanser?
No, that's who it was.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, but Seabreeze also was a popular 80s stringent.
Well, so Seabreeze and Vidal Sassoon got together and had a Bon Jovi. No, it was. There's a lot of people in there, including Dr. Bob's son and Dr. Bob's daughter-in-law. And Dr. Bob's daughter-in-law actually was a member of our society. Dr. Bob's son was not. So that's kind of interesting that help came along just in time. And see if you can connect there. I think you're going to be.
Can I do it on live?
No, don't do that. Hang on. Let me see if I can get him on this. We'll call him on my phone.
So it was interesting too in those first 100 people. What is the word I'm looking for? It was very specific, and they were able to come up with, we don't care anything about you outside information. We don't care. If you have an alcohol issue, that's what we're here to do. And I mean, for the times that they were in, they were very, I think, progressive, I guess is the word, progressive.
Yeah.
Inclusive. And there are some stories of them batting around. Hey, should we allow this person in, that person in? And it always came back to that, the tradition of, do we have a problem with alcohol? Desire to stop drinking. That's all that counts. So,
I think that's huge.
That's humongous. I mean,
like they may not have known what they were doing. So I'm sure at that time it was very scattered and they had so many ideas, but that they came up with the basis of something that would be this big. I mean, he just never knew how.
Yeah.
This would change so many people's lives.
Yeah, and to be recovering themselves early on, and to just have this in your, going with your gut or your higher power or whatever it might be that's guiding this along. That's crazy to,
Right.
It's human nature to go, oh, I have this little club and I want these people in it or these people in it, but to be the way they were for the 30s and the 40s, I mean, man.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you they probably got some backlash,
Sure.
from a lot of people because you're doing things at that time that were unheard of.
Sure. And but at the same time it saved millions of people's lives, so,
Yeah, he needs the Nobel Peace Prize, that's for sure.
Well, and he was actually recognized as one of the most influential people of the 20th century. Bill Wilson was, by Time Magazine.
Thrilling.
Yeah, and I think he was down there on the list. Down there on the list of people. It's just that there was a lot of stuff that went on there, right? So we're gonna call Larry. Let's call Larry. How about that? I'm gonna see if it'll ring. Hopefully it'll ring, and maybe, just maybe, let's see. And I know our listeners on live are not gonna be able to hear this, but let's see what happens. Oh, we got a ring. Hey, Larry. So
Hey.
we are in the process of doing our episode, and our 100 episode, and we wanted to call you and tell you and Judy both how much we thank you guys for listening on a regular basis
Absolutely.
and being guests and for the Rule 62 tips.
Absolutely. All our guests like the chips, man. That's pretty cool to get one of those. I gave one to my sponsor the other day. He thought that was pretty cool. So
Yeah, they are, and I think our guests are, they really like them and they appreciate them. And every time we have someone that visits the studio and talks on the show, they get a. It's actually the same, looks kind of like a Desire chip if you think about it.
It really does.
But that's okay. They have desire to come back and be on another show.
sure.
What do you think about that, Judy? Well, we do appreciate y'all listening, and we're not going to tie you up. We just wanted to call you, hear your voices, and let you know how grateful we are for both of you guys and being part of our show.
Absolutely.
Definitely made the first 100 episodes, definitely had Larry and Judy written all over them somewhere in there.
Agreed.
Well,
Oh, thanks, guys.
well, thank you. Yeah, she's getting there.
I'm getting there.
Sounds like she's gonna get it all up while we're recording.
She only showed up because we said it was payday, and she showed up. We
Yeah,
tricked her,
sure.
so we got her in
She
here.
thought
You
it
know.
was Friday.
No,
pigs and the
my
chickens.
babies.
Yeah. So. Okay, well, appreciate you, Larry, and you guys have a good rest of your evening. Love
Love
y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Man, it's always good to hear from them.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And
Miss Judy's an animal, man. You can tell, like, really listens. I'll get these messages on Instagram. Boom, 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 boom. What about this? What about that? What about this? I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
for sure.
I'm with you.
If something resonates with her, she'll send me a text.
Yeah. That's so cool, man. That is so cool. So
well, some of these things would not have been able to be happening had not it been for a couple of people. Just can you imagine starting something like AA today?
No.
I mean, and so you got to remember the amount of history that has happened since AA started. So in our big book, which was published in 1939, they talk about landing a man on the moon, right? And they do, and we agnostics. And that wouldn't happen for 30 more years after the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous was published. A man never had been on the moon, supposedly. We're not 100% sure on that. But there was no traces when we got there.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys tried something revolutionary. They tried it, and I think some of it might have been out of promotion, trying to get something kind of like, but for the most part, Alcoholics Anonymous is an altruistic machine, and it's all about helping others and doing that. And that first 100, you had the guy that put the whiskey in the milk, right? Who would have ever thought, and then the guy who he put on his slippers after X amount of time with no drink and was dead within 4 years. All of these people contributed somehow or another. And I believe that story actually came from the Oxford group.
Wow.
Yeah. So, some pretty tremendous stuff, right?
For sure.
So, anyway, we got our first 100 people who contributed to AA. But there, one of the biggest contributions is where it said that, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are our first 100 sound. They talk about the state of mind and body, right, and how they were beat into a reasonable state of mind, and that is obviously one of the biggest quotes you hear in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was part of that first. And I don't know if it was actually 100. I think it was. You also got to remember it was spread between Akron, Ohio, and New York City, and that's not a small distance. That's
Right.
quite the.
With no cell phones, no
cell phones.
Yeah,
And hell, the cars barely ran back then. I don't know what top speed was, but it wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, Bill Wilson and his wife rode a motorcycle all the way across the East Coast of the United States and went out looking at factories and stuff. I mean, that's just almost...
That's wild.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, transportation options, what? I mean, you didn't even think about getting a VW van? I mean, something.
Did they have that in the 30s?
I don't know.
Was this like Model T era where they had to like crank it up?
Well, I could Google it, but I don't think you had to, I don't know.
We'd already passed that.
Hand crank your motorcycle, So, I don't know.
I mean, it just seems like a really long time ago.
And it was.
Yeah.
It was a really long time ago.
But I mean, I guess they wrote letters and they did that kind of stuff, communicating with each other. Or, I guess the telephone too. But it wasn't like you could just instantly access whoever you wanted.
No, they probably had a switchboard and they're over there plugging stuff into the wall.
Sure.
Yeah. And Margaret, get me the police department, and Margaret's sitting right next to you.
And people listening in on it.
No, that was called a party line. My great grandmother in Margaret's actually had one of those. So that was pretty cool. So we've had our first 100 episodes. We got that out of the way, and if you think about the first 100 episodes, Matt, what was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode, probably this one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just
The chaos. You like the chaos?
yeah, I mean, this is gonna be legendary right here. I got
Okay,
people
so
talking to me on this phone right here, and I'm trying to read that, and they're making fun of me.
My
and
phone
so-
was going dead, and I cut the video, and I guess this young lady thought I cut her off, and I didn't do that. I would never do that. But
I like to see the growth of it, and I like to and I like to bump into people and they go, "Hey man, we heard this, we heard that," and I've never met them before. There's a lady that I have to tell y'all, and this is what makes my day, just makes me laugh. But there's a lady in South Louisiana that's friends with Lacey, and her name's Miss Melissa Bergeron, and she called Lacey the other night and she said, "Hey, did Matt get pulled over by the police?" And it was the episode with Bobby, and Bobby got pulled over. But it was so funny to me that she listens to the podcast, and and I also I wanted she brought up something. She's not one of us, but she said y'all were talking about CR and CA and all these things. She said I don't know what those stand for, and we have people that listen that are not necessarily one of us, and so. She said maybe be a little more clear when we're talking about stuff like that and what it means, So, and I said yes, ma'am. That's what I said. So, but we're glad she listened. She's a loyal listener and doesn't miss an episode. So
this is your favorite episode. What's your favorite song, man?
My favorite song.
Come on, what's your favorite song of all time?
All time, probably Mirrors with Keith Whitley.
Okay.
Yeah, old, slow country song. Probably my favorite. Yep.
Okay. So, Chris, what about you?
What's the question?
Chris likes Who Let the Dogs Out.
What
That's
is
his favorite of all time.
your favorite episode we did?
I don't think I really have a favorite. Because every one that I have listened to, which has been quite a bit, there's always one of those odd moments just about in every episode. I really like hearing early sobriety. I've got my sobriety date's May 15th of 2022, and just hearing people in their journeys and the fact that I mean, Jill, you've got right at 15 years coming up, and you're still growing in the program. So everybody that I've heard come on here, from early sobriety to long-term sobriety, double-digit years, you just get something out of every one of them. So the fact that we're still teachable, gives me hope that there's a lot more in this than I ever imagined.
Okay. I like that. What's your favorite song, Chris?
I can't even answer that.
Wow.
Because I get a new favorite, and then I pick a new favorite, a week later or 2 years later when another one comes out. And I've been on this 80s kick lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Big 80s kick. So.
I was riding down the road the other day and I had just a mix of stuff playing, and I had Little Boosie and Keith Whitley on the same playlist, and I'm like, am I bipolar or
I was
something
listening
like?
to Strange Hold this morning. I was just
Oh yeah,
I don't know what that is.
Ted Nugent.
Oh,
man.
Stranglehold.
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
that.
Stranglehold.
Yeah, you know
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
That's not what I heard.
Yeah, I thought you said Strange Hold.
I did. Strange Hold.
That's what I heard. man.
Strange Hold.
Hold.
Yeah. Whole different song. Man. You talking Two Live Crew down
He
there.
took care of that in divorce court.
Right in Shreveport.
Yeah, I don't know. This has been so fun doing this, and when we started doing it over at Mike's apartment, and we started there, and we would do a couple in a row, when we were doing them, and Chris has been one of those guys, like, from the beginning, and that's what I'm real grateful for, and what's been cool to see is, like, when we want to get a lot of different angles and things of avenues of recovery, and people coming from different places, and give you guys fresh voices, but it's not always there to get, and you call Chris or Ben or one of these guys. Hayden did a bunch of them when we first started, and go, hey man, can you come sit? These guys got better stuff to do. They got families and jobs and lives, and they go, no problem, and they come over, pop the headphones on, and it's just not overlooked, man. It's very, very much appreciated. All the
Look
folks.
at the growth and all that. Went from when we first started at Mike's apartment, to what kind of microphones I should use, to software, to how we're going to set this up, to now look at us. Instagram's involved, and YouTube, and Spotify, and Apple. I mean, it's just it's crazy to see how much growth just in a short amount of time has happened.
And reaching out to, we have a lady we're going to interview pretty soon on here from Switzerland, and like, what in the world, man? I'm from middle of nowhere, Louisiana, and we're going to talk to somebody in Switzerland about recovery, and guess what? It's all the same, man. They do it the same over there as we do in Louisiana, and there's just a lot of cool things coming up this year that we're going to be able to branch out into and go from there. So.
Definitely gonna get out there. Definitely. Jill, what's your favorite episode?
Anyone that she gets her check and has to show up. She said that's
Sorry,
her favorite
guys.
one.
I can't really pick a favorite one, to be honest with you.
There's that mile.
I've loved all of them. And I think each episode brings something different to us, to our listeners. And that's, I think, the reason why we do this is to, like, touch on every single aspect of recovery.
Yeah.
And give our experience, because, like I said, I felt really alone in early recovery. I didn't have someone with me that was sharing a lot of, like, how they made it through, how they felt.
Yeah.
And that was very scary.
And on into recovery and how they felt. Like going,
Right.
oh wait, there's not a magic wand and I'm going to walk the earth free of pain and agitation and not ever get hurt or
Well,
have,
Yeah. And so I like that we have this and that we do this, and it can give some hope. So it's all of them. I think they're all just as important.
Honestly, my favorite episode. What's your favorite song, Jill?
It'd probably be "Hold Me" by Fleetwood
She
Mac.
likes a lot of Creed too.
Oh,
Ew, y'all-
My Own Prison.
Y'all are horrible. And maybe "Wild" by Spoon. That's kind of what I've been jamming to a lot lately.
Yeah, Toad the Wet Sprocket.
No.
You ever heard of him? Have you ever heard of him?
No. Y'all stop putting this, like, trash music at me.
No, I wouldn't call
Creed
it trash
and
music.
Toad
They're
the
just
Sprocket.
kind of out there. A little.
More like a Nickelback thing.
No.
Yeah.
Stop that.
That's
shit.
who I meant to say. She loves
Yeah,
Nickelback.
No.
I was coming up on Nickelback, and I had been trying to find what my favorite episode. To be honest with you, in recording, and I haven't even been on all the episodes, believe it or not. I mean, I missed probably 5, 6 out of all these. But is Hodge and Nancy?
Oh,
yeah.
That happened to be because I'm sorry, but when he was talking about
The airbase.
the little guy hiding in his toolbox in his truck, that put me over the edge.
Yeah, Hodge is definitely something else.
That was hilarious.
Yes, it was.
Hodge is funny anyway. You know, one of those naturally funny people. Larry had a